History of the Indian Army. Introduction. The Indian Army, one of the world's oldest and most respected military forces, has a rich and diverse history that spans thousands of years. From ancient warrior clans and empires to the modern, highly sophisticated force it is today, the Indian Army's journey is a testament to the country's resilience, strategic thinking, and martial tradition. This essay delves into the history of the Indian Army, tracing its roots from ancient times through colonial rule to the present day. 1. Ancient military traditions. The Indian subcontinent has a long history of military organization, dating back to the ancient civilizations of the Indus Valley, circa 33,001,300 BCE. The earliest recorded instances of organized warfare in India come from the Vedic period, circa 1,500,500 BCE, where the concept of Kshatriyas, the warrior class, emerged. These warrior clans were responsible for protecting their tribes and territories, and their role in society was deeply ingrained in the cultural and religious fabric of ancient India. During the Maurya Empire, 322,185 BCE, under Emperor Chandragupta Maurya and later Ashoka, the Indian military became one of the most formidable in the ancient world. The Arthashastra, an ancient Indian treatise on statecraft and military strategy, provides insights into the organization, strategy, and tactics of the Mauryan army. This period also saw the establishment of the first standing armies, which were well equipped with infantry, cavalry, elephants, and chariots. The Gupta Empire, circa 320,550 CE, continued this tradition, maintaining a strong military presence that played a key role in defending the empire against invasions and expanding its territories. The Gupta period is often referred to as the Golden Age of India, and the military was an essential component of its success. 2. Medieval period, the rise of regional powers. With the decline of the Gupta Empire, India fragmented into numerous regional kingdoms, each with its own military traditions and strengths. The Rajputs, for example, emerged as a prominent warrior class in North India, known for their valor and chivalry. They established several powerful kingdoms, such as those in Mewar and Marwar, and built formidable fortresses like Chittorgarh and Mehrangarh. In South India, the Chola dynasty, circa 9th–13th century CE, developed a powerful navy that dominated the seas and extended its influence as far as Southeast Asia. The Cholas are credited with establishing the first organized naval force in Indian history, which played a crucial role in their military campaigns and trade dominance. The arrival of Islam in India during the 12th century brought significant changes to the military landscape. The Delhi Sultanate, 12,061,526, and later the Mughal Empire, 15,261,857, introduced new military technologies, such as gunpowder, cannons, and muskets, which revolutionized warfare in the subcontinent. The Mughal army, particularly under Emperor Akbar, was a well-organized and diverse force, comprising soldiers from various ethnic and religious backgrounds, and it became one of the most powerful armies in the world at the time. 3. The colonial era, the British Indian Army. The arrival of European powers in the 16th century, particularly the British East India Company, marked the beginning of a new chapter in Indian military history. The British gradually established control over large parts of India, often through military conquest and alliances with local rulers. The British East India Company initially relied on its own troops and European mercenaries but soon began recruiting Indian soldiers, known as sepoys, into its ranks. The company's army grew in size and strength, becoming a key instrument of British colonial expansion in India. Notable battles during this period include the Battle of Plassey, 1757, and the Battle of Buxar, 1764, which solidified British control over Bengal and laid the foundation for the British Empire in India. The Indian Rebellion of 1857, also known as the Sepoy Mutiny, was a significant turning point in the history of the Indian Army. The rebellion was sparked by widespread discontent among Indian soldiers in the company's army, who were angered by issues such as the introduction of new rifle cartridges believed to be greased with cow and pig fat, which offended both Hindu and Muslim religious sentiments. The rebellion was brutally suppressed by the British, but it led to the dissolution of the East India Company and the establishment of direct British rule in India. In the aftermath of the rebellion, the British reorganized the Indian Army, placing it under direct control of the British Crown. The Indian Army became an integral part of the British Empire's military forces, playing a crucial role in various conflicts around the world, including both World Wars. 4. The Indian Army in World Wars. During World War I, 19,141,918, the Indian Army was one of the largest volunteer forces in the world, with over 1.3 million Indian soldiers serving in various theaters of war, including Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. Indian soldiers earned numerous honors and distinctions for their bravery and service, but their contributions were largely overshadowed by the colonial narrative at the time. World War II, 19,391,945, saw an even larger mobilization of Indian troops, with over 2.5 million Indian soldiers participating in the conflict. Indian forces played a key role in the North African, Italian, and Southeast Asian campaigns. The war also saw the rise of the Indian National Army, INA, led by Subhas Chandra Bose, which sought to overthrow British rule in India with the help of Axis powers. The INA's efforts, though ultimately unsuccessful, had a significant impact on the Indian independence movement. 5. Post-independence, the modern Indian Army. India gained independence from British rule on August 15, 1947, and the Indian Army was divided between the newly independent nations of India and Pakistan. The partition led to significant upheaval, with large-scale migrations and communal violence. The Indian Army played a critical role in maintaining order during this tumultuous period. In the years following independence, the Indian Army faced several challenges, including the integration of princely states into the Indian Union and the defense of India's borders. The first major conflict occurred in 194,748, when India and Pakistan went to war over the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir. The conflict ended with a ceasefire and the establishment of the line of control, but the Kashmir issue remains a point of contention between the two nations to this day. The Indian Army has been involved in several major conflicts since independence, including the Sino-Indian War of 1962, the Indo-Pakistani Wars of 1965 and 1971, and the Kargil War of 1999. Each of these conflicts has shaped the Indian Army's doctrine, strategy, and capabilities. 6. The Indo-Pakistani Wars. The Indo-Pakistani War of 194,748, also known as the First Kashmir War, was the first military conflict between India and Pakistan, fought over the princely state of Jammu and Kashmir. The war ended in a UN-mediated ceasefire, with both countries controlling parts of the region. The Indo-Pakistani War of 1965 was a significant conflict that saw large-scale military engagements between the two nations. The war ended in a stalemate, with both sides suffering heavy casualties. The Tashkent Agreement, brokered by the Soviet Union, led to a cessation of hostilities. The Indo-Pakistani War of 1971 was a defining moment in the history of the Indian Army. The conflict arose from the Bangladesh Liberation War, where the Indian Army intervened in support of the independence movement in East Pakistan, now Bangladesh. The war resulted in a decisive victory for India and the creation of Bangladesh as an independent nation. 7. The Sino-Indian War. The Sino-Indian War of 1962 was a brief but intense conflict between India and China over disputed border territories in the Himalayas. The war exposed significant weaknesses in the Indian Army's preparedness and infrastructure in the region, leading to a re-evaluation of defense policies and increased investment in border security. 8. The Kargil War. The Kargil War of 1999 was a limited conflict between India and Pakistan in the Kargil district of Jammu and Kashmir. The war was fought at high altitudes in challenging terrain, and it demonstrated the Indian Army's ability to mobilize and operate in difficult conditions. The conflict ended with India regaining control of the territories occupied by Pakistani forces. 9. Counterinsurgency operations. In addition to conventional warfare, the Indian Army has been heavily involved in counterinsurgency operations, particularly in Jammu and Kashmir and the northeastern states. These operations have been crucial in maintaining internal security and stability in regions affected by insurgency and separatist movements. The Indian Army's experience in counterinsurgency warfare has made it one of the most experienced forces in the world in this domain. The Army's role in Operation Blue Star, 1984, to remove militants from the Golden Temple in Amritsar and its involvement in peacekeeping operations in Sri Lanka during the Indian Peacekeeping Force, IPKF, mission, 19,871,990, are notable examples of its capabilities in complex operations. 10. Modernization and future challenges. In recent decades, the Indian Army has undergone significant modernization to address emerging threats and challenges. The acquisition of advanced weaponry, including tanks, artillery, and aircraft, as well as the development of indigenous defense technologies, has enhanced the Army's capabilities. The Indian Army has also focused on improving its cyber and space warfare capabilities, recognizing the importance of these domains in modern conflict. The establishment of the Defense Cyber Agency and the Defense Space Agency reflects this strategic shift. The Indian Army faces several challenges in the 21st century, including the ongoing threat of cross-border terrorism, the rise of non-state actors, and the need to maintain readiness in the face of a volatile security environment. The Army's role in disaster relief and humanitarian assistance, both domestically and internationally, has also become increasingly important. 11. Conclusion. The history of the Indian Army is a story of resilience, adaptation, and courage. From its ancient roots to its modern incarnation, the Indian Army has played a pivotal role in shaping the history and destiny of the Indian subcontinent. As it continues to evolve and modernize, the Indian Army remains a symbol of national pride and a guardian of India's sovereignty and security. The legacy of the Indian Army is not just one of military might but also of its commitment to upholding democratic values, protecting human rights, and contributing to global peace and stability. As the Indian Army marches into the future, it carries with it the rich traditions and lessons of its storied past, ready to face the challenges of a